From the very first episode of Vice Grip Garage, Derek Bieri captivated audiences with his charm, skill, and undeniable passion for restoring classic cars. But what many viewers didn't realize was that behind that confident smile was a man who had fought his way through years of obstacles just to make it to the small screen. Born with a relentless drive and a love for engines, Derek's early years were spent in cramped garages and dusty workshops, learning the secrets of metal, oil, and horsepower from anyone willing to teach him. He wasn't just fixing cars, he was building a legacy. Derek's journey wasn't easy. While some stars seemed to arrive fully formed, Derek had to prove himself constantly. Every rusted chassis, every engine that refused to turn, every failed project was a test of his patience and resolve. And yet, he thrived on challenges. Friends who knew him before fame say he had an almost magnetic energy, a fire that drew people in, making them believe that no problem was too big to tackle. When the opportunity to join Vice Grip Garage came, it wasn't just a career move. It was validation of a lifetime spent chasing a dream many thought impossible. Viewers loved his authenticity. On screen, Derek wasn't pretending. He laughed, he argued, he celebrated victories and mourned failures with equal intensity. Each episode gave a glimpse into his world. The messy garage floors, the blaring music, the camaraderie with his team. But beneath the excitement, there was also an underlying intensity. A man who put his heart into every bolt tightened and every classic car revived. It was easy to see why fans connected so deeply with him. He wasn't just a TV personality. He was a symbol of perseverance, of chasing passion in the face of relentless odds. Yet, even in the early stages of his career, there were subtle signs that all was not as perfect as it seemed. Colleagues would sometimes hint at late nights spent wrestling not only with cars but with inner demons. Derek's humor could mask exhaustion, and his bright smile occasionally hid moments of doubt. Still, he powered through, convincing everyone, and perhaps himself, that he could handle whatever came his way. His rise wasn't meteoric in the flashy sense. It was painstaking, tangible, and relatable. Every fan who watched Vice Grip Garage could see a part of their own struggle reflected in Derek's journey, making his success feel deeply personal to them. By the time Derek had become a recognizable face on reality TV, he had already endured more setbacks than most could imagine. And yet, that resilience, his refusal to give up, to quit on his dreams, was exactly what made the tragedy that would follow so gut-wrenching. From a young dreamer tinkering in a garage to a beloved reality star admired nationwide, Derek Bieri's story was one of hope, passion, and an unshakable drive that would make the heartbreak all the more shocking. On screen, Derek Bieri seemed unstoppable, confident, charismatic, and endlessly skilled. But behind the cameras, life was far more complicated than any episode of Vice Grip Garage could capture. Fans saw the finished cars, the victories, and the laughs. What they didn't see were the countless nights Derek spent alone, wrestling with stress, exhaustion, and pressures that reality TV often hides. The garage that looked like a playground of creativity was also a battlefield, where deadlines, budgets, and perfectionism collided, leaving Derek drained yet determined to keep pushing forward. For years, Derek juggled the demands of fame with personal struggles that never made it to the headlines. Friends and co-workers describe him as fiercely private, someone who bore his burdens silently while always putting on a brave face for the cameras. There were whispers of sleepless nights, anxiety, and moments where the weight of expectations seemed almost unbearable. Yet, Derek's commitment to his craft never wavered. Every project was a testament to his resilience, but also a reminder that even the strongest people have cracks that the world rarely notices. One of the most haunting aspects of Derek's behind-the-scenes life was the isolation. While cameras captured the camaraderie and banter in the shop, much of his personal world was far quieter, marked by introspection and moments of doubt. He would often retreat to the garage alone, not to work on cars, but to process emotions he couldn't share publicly. This struggle wasn't about fame or recognition, it was about living up to his own high standards, a pressure cooker of ambition and self-expectation that few could truly understand. The reality of television is that it amplifies personality while minimizing the personal cost. For Derek, each filmed moment required energy he didn't always have, and the contrast between his on-screen confidence and off-screen vulnerability grew sharper over time. Friends remember that he was always giving 150%. Yet behind that drive was a man quietly fighting battles that had no script, no audience applause, and no rewind button. The world saw his success, but what it didn't see was the strain, emotional, mental, and physical, that came with being the heart of a beloved reality TV show. It's a tragic reminder that fame often masks pain. Derek's fans saw a star thriving in his element, but the struggles he faced were real, complex, and deeply human. Every laugh, every victory, and every episode broadcast to millions carried with it the silent weight of challenges no one talked about. Understanding this hidden side of Derek makes the heartbreak of what happened later even more intense, as it reveals a man who, despite appearing invincible, was wrestling with forces that ultimately proved overwhelming. It was a day like any other in the world of Vice Grip Garage, yet for Derek Bieri, nothing would ever be the same. Fans watching the show couldn't imagine that behind the familiar roar of engines and the playful banter of the shop, a storm was quietly gathering. A storm that would change everything in an instant. Derek's life, which had seemed so full of promise and achievement, took a sudden, devastating turn, leaving those who knew him stunned, heartbroken, and searching for answers. Details remain murky, but the reports paint a picture of unexpected tragedy striking in the most ordinary of moments. Friends and colleagues recount the shock, describing how news of the event spread like wildfire, leaving everyone in disbelief. Derek, who had always appeared larger than life on screen, was suddenly confronted with circumstances that no amount of skill, charm, or determination could fix. The energy that had carried him through years of struggle seemed to vanish in a heartbeat, replaced by confusion, fear, and sorrow. What makes this tragedy even more haunting is the unpredictability of it all. Reality TV thrives on drama, but this was real, raw, and irreversible. There was no script to follow, no camera crew to catch the moment with perfect timing, just a life abruptly upended, leaving loved ones to grapple with a reality they weren't prepared to face. Social media erupted, fans speculated, and the world watched in collective shock, realizing that the bright, inspiring figure they had admired was now at the center of a story far darker than any television episode could depict. Those closest to Derek reveal that the event exposed vulnerabilities that had long been hidden. The man who seemed unshakable on camera was, in reality, human, fragile, sensitive, and susceptible to the pressures and unpredictabilities of life. Colleagues describe a period of disbelief and mourning, struggling to reconcile the image of the vibrant, unstoppable Derek with the painful truth of what had occurred. It was a reminder that even those who appear to have it all can be caught off guard by life's cruelest twists. The impact of this sudden turn rippled far beyond the garage walls. Fans, family, and the entire reality TV community were forced to confront the shocking reality. Tragedy does not discriminate, and even the strongest, most talented individuals can face events that change everything. Derek's story became more than just another tale of a TV star. It became a stark reflection of the fragility of life, the hidden struggles behind fame, and the heartbreak that can strike without warning. The news of Derek Bieri's tragedy sent shockwaves through the world of Vice Grip Garage, leaving fans, friends, and family reeling. Social media became a whirlwind of disbelief, sympathy, and grief as thousands of messages poured in, expressing love and sorrow for a man who had touched so many lives. For fans, Derek wasn't just a reality TV star. He was a symbol of passion, resilience, and authenticity. Seeing someone they admired fall into tragedy left a haunting emptiness, a reminder that real life carries consequences far beyond the screen. Family members struggled to cope with the sudden loss, recounting memories of Derek that few had ever heard. Stories of his generosity, humor, and dedication painted a picture of a man whose public persona was only part of the story. Siblings and close relatives spoke of late-night conversations, dreams shared in whispers, and the quiet sacrifices he had made to pursue his career. The pain was tangible, as those closest to him had to navigate grief in the shadow of public scrutiny, trying to honor his memory while managing their own heartbreak. Friends from the garage shared their anguish in ways that were raw and unfiltered. Colleagues described Derek as the glue that held the team together, the spark that kept the shop alive with energy, laughter, and determination. His absence left not only an emotional void but a practical one. Projects stalled, routines disrupted, and a sense of uncertainty lingering in the air. Every corner of the garage seemed to echo with memories of Derek's presence, making the tragedy feel even more immediate and personal for those who had worked alongside him day after day. Fans reacted in a way that highlighted the deep connection Derek had forged through reality television. Messages, videos, and tributes flooded online platforms, reflecting the profound impact he had on countless lives. Many shared stories of how his journey inspired them to chase their own dreams, confront their struggles, and persevere in the face of obstacles. The overwhelming response underscored a truth often overlooked in the world of reality TV. Stars may entertain, but they also leave lasting impressions that resonate far beyond the screen. Yet, amid the outpouring of grief, there was also a sense of unease and unanswered questions. How could someone so full of life and energy be struck by such tragedy? What had gone unnoticed, and could anything have been done to prevent it? The reactions from family, friends, and fans alike were a mix of mourning, admiration, and desperate curiosity. A collective attempt to understand a loss that seemed almost impossible to comprehend. Derek Bieri's story, once one of inspiration and triumph, now carried the weight of sorrow, leaving a legacy that would forever be tinged with both admiration and heartbreak. Even months after the tragedy, questions still swirl around Derek Bieri's untimely downfall. What truly happened that day? Why did it happen so suddenly to a man whose life seemed on an upward trajectory? Fans and insiders alike are left piecing together fragments of information, rumors, and official reports. But the full picture remains elusive, shrouded in uncertainty and speculation. In the world of reality TV, where drama is often manufactured, the real-life mystery of Derek's fate stands apart. Painful, raw, and incomprehensible. Some say it was a culmination of long-hidden struggles, mental fatigue, personal pressure, and the relentless expectations of life in the spotlight. Others whisper of unforeseen accidents, moments of bad luck, or private battles that no one could see. Every lead seems to spark more questions than answers. Even those closest to him admit that they may never truly understand the series of events that led to such a heartbreaking outcome. The ambiguity adds to the tragedy, leaving fans haunted not only by the loss but by the unknowable what-ifs that linger in the air. Media coverage has fueled the speculation, with outlets dissecting every detail, every social media post, and every interview for clues. Yet, in the process, the human element, the real Derek, the vibrant personality behind the cameras, can sometimes get lost. What remains clear, however, is the impact he left behind. A man who inspired countless people, whose passion for life and craft was undeniable, and whose story now serves as a somber reminder of the fragility of life, even for those who seem larger than it. Fans continue to honor his memory in ways both public and private. Tributes, charity projects, and online memorials aim to keep Derek's spirit alive, celebrating his achievements and the joy he brought into the lives of others. Yet, even as these gestures provide comfort, the mystery of his final days remains. A shadow over the legacy of a man who gave so much to his work, his fans, and the world. The unanswered questions hang heavy. Could something have been done differently? Was there a warning sign missed? In the absence of clarity, the tragedy feels almost cinematic in its cruel finality, leaving a story that is both inspiring and devastating. Derek Bieri's life, marked by resilience, talent, and authenticity, ended with a lingering sense of mystery that will never fully be resolved. The world may never know all the details, but the echoes of his journey, his triumphs, his struggles, and his untimely tragedy remain. For fans, friends, and family, Derek is remembered not just for how he lived, but for how his story continues to haunt, inspire, and remind us of the delicate balance between passion, fame, and the unforeseen twists of life. Derek Bieri's story is one that lingers long after the cameras stop rolling and the engines cool in the garage. From the very beginning, he was more than just a reality TV star. He was a man whose life embodied passion, perseverance, and the relentless pursuit of dreams. His journey from a young dreamer tinkering with engines to a beloved figure on Vice Grip Garage inspired countless fans, showing that talent, hard work, and determination could turn even the most ordinary garage into a stage for greatness. He wasn't just fixing cars. He was fixing the broken parts of his own journey, shaping a legacy that seemed destined to shine for years to come. Yet, behind the charisma, humor, and energy that made him so beloved, Derek carried struggles that the world rarely saw. Fame brought applause, recognition, and admiration, but it also brought pressure, scrutiny, and expectations that weighed heavily on his shoulders. Colleagues and friends recall the late nights, the solitary moments in the quiet of the garage, and the silent battles he fought while the cameras captured only the surface. For a man who gave everything to his craft, the private moments of vulnerability were as defining as the public moments of triumph. It's a reminder that even those who appear unstoppable can be quietly wrestling with challenges that are invisible to the rest of the world. And then came the sudden turn, the event that shattered the life Derek had built with so much care and dedication. It was a moment that none of us could have anticipated, a tragic twist that left fans, family, and friends grappling with disbelief, sorrow, and a desperate search for answers. Reality TV thrives on drama, but this was real life. A heartbreak that no script could predict, no director could stage, and no audience could prepare for. The very man who had inspired so many with his passion and resilience was suddenly gone, leaving behind questions that remain unanswered to this day. The reactions from family, friends, and fans reveal the depth of Derek's impact. Tributes poured in online and in person, sharing memories of his generosity, humor, and devotion. His colleagues described him as the glue of the shop, the spark that kept the team alive, the friend who could make anyone laugh even on their worst days. Fans, too, mourned, not just the loss of a TV personality, but the absence of someone who had been a symbol of hope, ambition, and authenticity. The collective grief was profound, a mixture of heartbreak and admiration that underscored just how much Derek had touched lives in ways both big and small. Yet, even as we remember and honor him, a lingering mystery remains. What truly happened to Derek Bieri? How could such a vibrant, talented, and determined man be struck by tragedy so suddenly? Rumors, speculation, and partial reports fill the void left by the unanswered questions, but the full story may never be known. This uncertainty is part of what makes his story so haunting.